I was in a decade-long relationship with my girlfriend, only to discover she was already married and had sabotaged contraception, planning to use my sperm to conceive a child for her husband. She openly flirted with her lover, engaged in provocative live streams, had an abortion behind my back, and even showed affection with her lover in front of me, using me for clout before turning on me. Later, she went to a dangerous place chasing clout, and after I rescued her, I completely cut ties. Her lover's wife exposed her scandals, leading to her being banned. Her child was stillborn and severely malformed, and she herself was diagnosed with cancer. In my left hand, I held the pregnancy test results, and in my right, the cancer diagnosis report. It felt as if my entire world had plummeted from heaven to hell. A decade-long relationship dissolved into nothingness in an instant. I tore both papers into pieces, threw them into the trash can, and then called Brooke. I've made up my mind. I'm resigning tomorrow, and I can lead the team deep into the heart of Blackwood Peaks next week. Brooke on the other end of the line was both surprised and overjoyed. That's fantastic. Benjamin Hayes, on behalf of all the national geologists, thank you. After packing my bags, the moment I pushed open the front door, I collided head-on with Courtney Palmer, who was coming in. Snowflakes dusted her hair and shoulders, and she looked flustered, but the moment she spoke, her voice, almost a roar, exploded in my ears. Benjamin Hayes, do you have any idea it's snowing outside? The first snow of early winter held profound significance for us, because both Courtney Palmer and I found a new beginning during a cold, heavy snowfall. Every year, with the first snow, no matter how far apart we were, I would rush to her side immediately. Later, as she gained more fame, she would always act annoyed whenever I went to see her. Why are you, a grown man, so overly sentimental instead of being romantic? You should focus on making money. Do you have any idea I have a live stream soon? Just leave, don't mess up my work. My enthusiasm was extinguished again and again, and my heart grew colder inch by inch. I don't know when it started, but facing her overwhelming brilliance, I could only wait from a distant corner. Sharon's spoken understanding transformed into a relationship hidden from public view. I understood too late. Pulling my bags, I walked past her saying blandly, Seeing my indifferent reaction in the bags I was pulling, Courtney Palmer's face immediately hardened. Don't tell me you're angry because of that call just now. Hearing that, I suddenly wanted to laugh. My girlfriend of a decade-long relationship suddenly told me she had a honey. Yet she had clearly told me she was a commitment phobe. It turned out her commitment phobe stance was only for me. If I wasn't angry, was I supposed to throw a party and wish them a happily ever after? Courtney Palmer stepped forward, tugging at my sleeve, her tone softening. Even if tomorrow's proposal is just for the live stream, you can't not be there, right? Benjamin Hayes, you're the one who said you wanted to make us official. Are you trying to ditch me now? I looked at her calmly, speaking each word distinctly. The desire to propose came from seeing your pregnancy test results. Now, it seems it has nothing to do with me. Courtney Palmer's health had always been delicate, and I didn't want her to get pregnant, so I was always very careful. I never imagined she would tamper with the contraception. In the end, I discovered that Courtney Palmer had always viewed me as a reproductive tool. Courtney Palmer frowned, pulled me back directly, her tone conciliatory. Benjamin Hayes, please stop making a scene. Okay, my honey said the child can take your last name, and we'll always be a family. A family. Was Courtney Palmer planning to have a honey on one side and a boyfriend on the other? I truly don't know how she could say something so utterly shocking and morally reprehensible. I pushed her away, letting out a scoff. Consider me blind to the truth. With that, I ignored Courtney Palmer's protests and left the house. A biting wind blew, and heavy snow fell. I looked at the dark street under the snowy night, feeling as if a piece had been carved out of my heart. I am a master colorist and an experienced geologist. Brooke runs Earth's Hughes Pigment Company, leading the industry, and once offered me a multi-million-dollar annual salary. But for my girlfriend, Courtney Palmer, I refused. Courtney Palmer was a life Arthur Hayes gave his life for. I had promised Arthur Hayes to protect Courtney Palmer throughout her life, so I worked alongside her at the same livestream talent. Courtney Palmer had a good public image, and within a few months of live streaming, she gained hundreds of thousands of followers. As her fame grew, she slowly transformed into someone I no longer recognize. Not only did she often say revealing and provocative things to the top donors in her live streams, but her outfits during live streams also became increasingly revealing, leading to several platform warnings. I explicitly told her I was jealous, but she claimed it was for work. Sometimes, when I bothered her too much, she would furiously yell that I was useless, then storm off, running away from home. She wouldn't come home for days, sometimes even weeks. During that time, she wouldn't reply to any of my calls or messages. I could only apologize repeatedly until she calmed down. I loved her, protected her, spoiled her, willing to give up everything for her. Our relationship was just one marriage certificate away. But now, she not only already had a honey, but she also attempted sperm donation for her husband deceptively. I was too naive. I had taken 99 steps towards her, yet she turned and ran into someone else's arms. Countless times I told myself a relationship so demeaning should be abandoned, and those who don't cherish you should be kept at a distance. Yet I always felt I could melt her heart. It was all just wishful thinking. The next morning, I went to the company to resign. The CEO's assistant said they were in a meeting and asked me to wait inside. As soon as I entered the CEO's office, I saw an expensive tie hanging on the coat rack. At least a five-figure sum. It was identical to the 30th birthday gift Courtney Palmer gave me. Exactly the same, except mine was a knockoff. Bought for $9.9 on a cheap online store with free shipping. Back then, even though I knew it was fake, I couldn't bring myself to use it, because it was the first and last gift Courtney Palmer ever gave me. Seeing me treasure it, Courtney Palmer poked my head and laughed. Look at you. So unaccomplished. Once I make money, they'll buy you 100 of them. Now Courtney Palmer has a six-figure monthly income, but I haven't received anything else. Perhaps she thought I wasn't worthy of any gift. The scene completely chilled my heart. My intuition told me that Courtney Palmer's honey would most likely our boss, Marcus Thorne. Yet for all these years, I have been kept completely in the dark. No wonder during our usual gatherings, colleagues always urge me to eat more broccoli and greens, and constantly push some implied cuckoldry through the green color, hinting at betrayal food in front of me. I ignored all these well-intentioned warnings, simply because I trusted Courtney Palmer implicitly. I was trembling with rage. But then Marcus Thorne's voice came from the doorway. Sweetheart, you don't really like Benjamin Hayes, do you? Courtney Palmer's delicate laughter followed. How could I? Look at his poverty-stricken appearance. I can't get away from him fast enough, honey. Are you jealous? How cute. They'll tell you a secret. I bought a new outfit. They'll wear it for you in a bit. Courtney Palmer appeased Marcus Thorne with just a few words. The nauseating kissing sound came from outside the door. Marcus Thorne suddenly asked again, what if it's another girl? My heart sank. I only heard Courtney Palmer's incredibly light-hearted assurance. Don't worry. This time it's definitely a boy. If it's still a girl, they'll just secretly get another abortion. Secretly get an abortion. Had she had many abortions behind my back? Rage drowned out my reason, and I violently pushed open the office door. What met my eyes were two people entwined. The moment Courtney Palmer saw me, a slight surprise crossed her face. Benjamin Hayes, what are you doing here? Yes, what was I doing here? How could a pawn like me be here, disturbing their affair? Marcus Thorne looked at me with a half smile, saying calmly, oh, it's been used condescendingly. What a coincidence. Clearly, Marcus Thorne's secretary had already told him I was in the office. He was deliberately provoking me, intentionally letting me hear them being intimate through the door, so I would understand that even if Courtney Palmer was carrying my child, it had nothing to do with me. I suddenly found it utterly ironic. Courtney Palmer had deceived me like this for 10 years. 10 whole years. I stumbled a few steps, then spoke with a hint of despair. Courtney Palmer, why did you lie to me? Her face instantly turned ugly, and she said coldly, who lied to you? Weren't we together all this time? You just didn't notice, and now you're blaming me. As for the child, Mr. Chen had helped us so much over the years. What's wrong with us working together to give him a son? The more Courtney Palmer spoke, the angrier she got. She directly pulled my hand and walked into the office area, raising her voice. Everyone, come judge. Benjamin Hayes is slandering me, saying I had an affair with Mr. Chen. Don't you think this is too much? Marcus Thorne also walked out, looking at me provocatively, then used condescendingly. Everything needs proof. Don't let Courtney suffer baseless accusations. I'm a grown man. They'll be fine. But Courtney is our company's most popular female streamer. Seeing this, all the employees collectively nodded. Benjamin Hayes, you're going too far. Courtney and Mr. Chen have always been innocent. Exactly. Benjamin Hayes, even the child is yours. How could Courtney be cheating? The proposal live stream is tomorrow. Benjamin Hayes, just stop making a scene. Facing my colleagues who were lying through their teeth, I found it hard to breathe. So all these years, Courtney Palmer's business trip were always to be with Marcus Thorne. She even flirted while working. Courtney Palmer looked at me triumphantly. Benjamin Hayes, did you hear that? I'm busy with work. I don't have time to humor you. If you keep acting so unreasonable, don't blame me for turning my back on you. You know Mr. Chen has invested heavily in her career for me. He's dedicated to promoting me. What are you to me? Look at you. So pathetic. Who else would want to be with you besides me? Even now, Courtney Palmer showed not a shred of guilt. Instead, she blamed everything on me, and in her eyes, I was nothing more than a complete doormat. Always at her beck and call, I clenched my fists and spoke to her with difficulty. Fine, they'll leave, they'll disappear. Is that enough? Having said that, I was about to turn and leave, but Courtney Palmer suddenly grabbed me and slapped me right in front of everyone. She shrieked hysterically at me. Benjamin Hayes, what do you mean? The live stream proposal is tomorrow. Then you're telling me you're leaving now? Are you trying to humiliate me in front of everyone? I forcefully pulled my hand free from hers and sneered, whoever it is, it won't be me. Courtney Palmer completely panicked. Her sobs echoed behind me. If I'm humiliated in front of my fans, I might as well just die now. It was the same old story. Every time we argued before, Courtney Palmer would fake a mental health crisis, acting as if she wanted to die. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, which is why I always conceded and apologized unconditionally, without reason. No matter how outrageous her actions were, I would forgive her without hesitation. Over time, I had spoiled her rotten. This time, I wouldn't indulge her anymore. After leaving the company, I went straight to Arthur Hayes' grave. When the old man passed away, he made me promise to take good care of Courtney Palmer. But now, I found that I truly couldn't do it anymore. All the love and trust I had for her vanished completely with that slap. Even when I used to doubt her, I would force myself to persevere. But today I realized that the heart that loved her had long been riddled with holes. I couldn't go on, and the next day, I packed my things, preparing to go to the airport. But as I got into the taxi, I received a call from a colleague. Ben, Courtney Palmer is in trouble. Come quickly. Courtney Palmer. She's really trying to harm herself because of you. I never thought Courtney Palmer would actually go through with it. Before, whenever she said she didn't want to live, she was just joking. She loved herself so much. How could she try to harm herself for me? I looked down at my watch. I still had 2 hours before boarding, so there should be enough time. When I arrived at the hotel, my heart was pounding wildly. If Courtney Palmer were willing to give up her life for me, could I forgive her and let bygones be bygones? The answer was no. I knew I would never forgive her in this lifetime, but I had promised Arthur Hayes to keep her safe. For her, I no longer felt love, only responsibility. I took a deep breath and pushed open the large doors. I saw Courtney Palmer facing a kneeling stranger, who was proposing to her with deep affection. Time seemed to stand still. There was no trying to harm herself as they claimed. Courtney Palmer just wanted me to witness this heart-wrenching scene with my own eyes. It didn't matter who proposed to her. I was nothing. My last hope was extinguished. I dragged my heavy feet, about to turn and leave. But then, Courtney Palmer on the stage suddenly looked in my direction. Her eyes suddenly lit up. I couldn't quite decipher the emotions in her eyes. It looked like surprise, and also like being moved. She said something to me from afar. Unfortunately, I didn't hear it clearly. The plane was delayed. Courtney Palmer, goodbye. Before boarding, she finally sent me a message. I knew you were the best, willing to come to the live stream to see me. They'll be home in 5 minutes. Wait for me. So Courtney Palmer hadn't called me to come after all. Thinking about it, with her proud personality, why would she call me? I let out a bitter laugh, then blocked her. When Courtney Palmer arrived home, she found the cleaning lady tidying up some miscellaneous items. As the cleaning lady handled my belongings, Courtney Palmer frowned, about to ask where I had gone, when she noticed a fragment of a cancer diagnosis report on the floor. The cleaning lady quickly stepped forward to apologize. I'm sorry, Miss Courtney, I must have dropped it when I took out the trash earlier. Courtney Palmer clutched a small piece of the report, her voice trembling. How could this be? How could this be? A moment later, she frantically started rummaging through the trash can, but it was empty. She grabbed the cleaning lady's shoulders and yelled, "Why is it empty? Where did the waste paper go?" The cleaning lady was visibly startled and innocently pointed out the window, saying, "The trash bags were taken away by the truck." Courtney Palmer's face stiffened, and her entire body trembled uncontrollably. The cleaning lady suddenly seemed to remember something and handed over a small notebook. "Miss Courtney, would you like to check if there's anything else to add? Mr. Hayes gave this to me before he left. It contains your daily habits and food preferences." It was my 10-year-long record of her, filled to the brim, wholeheartedly. Courtney Palmer completely collapsed onto the sofa, her expression unusually grave. When she spoke again, her voice was trembling. "So Benjamin Hayes had a terminal illness. That's why he had to leave me." The cleaning lady quickly came forward to comfort her. "Mr. Hayes is such a good person. How could he have a terminal illness? And Mr. Hayes loves you so much, he'll definitely be fine." Courtney Palmer's eyes were vacant as she murmured softly, "No wonder he'd been acting so strange lately. So he had a terminal illness. Why didn't he tell me? Why did he bear it all by himself?" She grabbed her phone, wanting to send me a message, but the screen showed that I had blocked her. Undeterred, she dialed my number repeatedly, but it still wouldn't connect. Courtney Palmer's expression shifted from anger to sorrow. She buried her face in her hands and burst into loud sobs. "He's really gone. He doesn't want me anymore. And he doesn't want our child either." The cleaning lady fumbled to hand her tissues, unsure how to comfort her. Just then, Courtney Palmer's phone rang. The cleaning lady saw it was a call from the police and immediately felt something was wrong. Courtney Palmer, still sobbing, took the phone. As soon as she answered, a voice from the phone receiver brought her even more despair. "Miss Courtney, the man who assaulted you 3 months ago have been arrested. We couldn't reach Mr. Hayes, so we'll have to trouble you to come to the police station." Clatter. The phone slipped from Courtney Palmer's grasp and fell heavily to the floor. What did this mean? Some blurry fragments suddenly appeared in her mind. 3 months ago, she had been arranged by Marcus Thorne to board a yacht. He said it was to entertain some important figures, but her memory after drinking that glass of wine seemed to have been erased. Cold sweat immediately trickled down Courtney Palmer's back. If all of this was true, then it meant the child in her stomach wasn't mine. Courtney Palmer almost lost her footing. After arriving at the police station, the police looked at Courtney Palmer, whose face was streaked with terror. With some curiosity, "We apologize, Miss Courtney. We only contacted you because we had no other choice. Mr. Hayes had always insisted you were the victim and begged us not to tell you the truth." Courtney Palmer only felt a ringing in her ears. She no longer knew what the police said or what they made her do. She only knew that on that night 3 months ago, when she regained consciousness, I was silently holding her tightly. Back then, she even complained I was too clingy. But she had no idea what she had gone through the previous night. Courtney Palmer touched her stomach. It was as if she had just woken from a dream, which meant, even though I knew the child wasn't mine, I still intended to marry her. My proposal to her wasn't for live stream effect, but to protect her. Courtney Palmer returned home like a zombie. Looking at the empty apartment, she could no longer hold back and burst into loud sobs. Just then a knock sounded at the door. Courtney Palmer's eyes lit up. She instantly stopped crying, and then scrambled to open the door. She forced a sweet smile, saying joyfully, "Benjamin Hayes, hi." But the rest of her sentence caught in her throat. It wasn't me at the door. It was Marcus Thorne's secretary. He didn't even step inside, just said to Courtney Palmer, "Courtney, have you seen that Blackwood Peaks video lately? Mr. Chen said our company needs to chase clout from it too, so he booked you a plane ticket to the Pacific Northwest for tonight. Make sure you stay safe." Courtney Palmer clenched her fists, her face expressionless, saying, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to find Benjamin Hayes." Marcus Thorne's secretary pursed his lips and chuckled indifferently. "Courtney, stop making a fuss. This is work. As our company's top streamer, how can you not go? If you breach the contract, you know you'll have to pay the company at least $200 million. With that." He dropped the plane ticket and turned to leave, leaving Courtney Palmer screaming in place. But I couldn't hear any of that. As soon as I got off the plane, Brooke Hayes excitedly waved at me. "Ben, over here." Brooke Hayes was the girl Arthur Hayes and I met years ago while prospecting. She is a professional master colorist, and like me, an excellent geologist. She built her empire from scratch, working hard for 10 years, before leading the industry with Earth's huge pigment company. The purpose of this trip into Blackwood Peaks was due to an influencer discovering a mineral vein near the reservoir. It was discovered from a video that had gone viral across the internet. This mineral vein extended deep into the heart of Blackwood Peaks. The country dispatched 3 professional geologists to explore it. However, countless professional team members had previously gone missing or died inside. It was filled with danger, and I was, to this day, the only person who had successfully traversed Blackwood Peaks and returned alive. That's why for this expedition, Brooke Hayes had no choice but to seek my help. Ever since Arthur Hayes passed away, I had stayed with Courtney Palmer at that small company. This time, not only did Brooke need me, but the country did too. It was my duty. Once preparations were complete, we were about to set off when unexpectedly, Brooke Hayes also followed, fully equipped. I frowned and immediately stopped her. "This time it's too dangerous. You're not allowed to come." Although I had experience, bringing 3 national geology team members meant that more people weren't always better. I truly couldn't guarantee everyone would return alive. But Brooke Hayes said seriously, "It's precisely because it's so dangerous that I have to go." Benjamin Hayes, have you forgotten? I'm your best partner. I paused, then smiled hopelessly. Back then, when Arthur Hayes sent me to prospect alone, I accidentally fell into a sinkhole. Unexpectedly, I found Brooke Hayes, who had also met with an accident, inside, the moment we saw each other. All frustration and panic disappeared, because we knew we would definitely get out alive. Brooke Hayes was indeed, to this day, my best partner. It was a shame that she was now running such a large company. If anything were to happen to her, I couldn't bear to think about it. Perhaps she saw my concern. Brooke Hayes patted my shoulder, chuckling. "The company has long been on track. Even without me, it can run normally. If something really happens to me, Ben, you can take over my position." I glared at her. "What nonsense are you talking about?" The other team members came over, teasing us. "Ben, can you see? Brooke doesn't trust you to go alone, huh? With the beautiful CEO personally accompanying us on this expedition, I definitely have to make it back alive." Brooke Hayes shyly ran off. She was still the same as before, handling everything herself. I suddenly thought of Courtney Palmer. Ever since she became a moderately famous streamer, she began living more and more lavishly. Not only did she demand the best in food, clothing, and daily necessities, but even her live streams were just to appease her fans. Every time I spoke to her about it, she would retort angrily, "What right do you have to tell me what to do? Are you that idle? Why don't you look at yourself?" She always thought I was unambitious, but she didn't know that all these years, it was for her that I had held back my true potential. After arriving in the Pacific Northwest, we proceeded directly from the villages near Blackwood Peaks deep into its interior. Before we set off, I thought I saw a familiar figure. It looked like Courtney Palmer. I gave a self-deprecating smile. Why would she come looking for me? I truly didn't know what I was fantasizing about. This relationship should have ended long ago. Once we entered the mountains, dangers lurked everywhere. Our group remained vigilant at all times. This primeval forest had always been known as off-limits to civilians, because the ground beneath our feet contained many rare minerals that would cause compasses and electronics to go haywire. The place was too dangerous to linger. With Brookhave's help, we successfully completed our mission and safely exited the mountains in just 2 days. But on the way back, I discovered human footprints that weren't ours. I sighed. Nowadays, some people always risk their lives just to gain views. I couldn't stop them. Nor was it my place to control them. On this trip, we found a rare mineral vein for the country, and also collected many rare materials for Brookhave's Earth-Use Pigment Company. After exiting the mountains, I turned on my phone, and the screen displayed many news notifications. One of them read, "The most beautiful streamer braves Blackwood Peaks alone, missing for over 12 hours. The picture was of Courtney Palmer. Brookhaven saw my expression and immediately came over to ask, "Ben, what's wrong?" I clenched my fists. The figure I saw that day was indeed Courtney Palmer, but why would she follow us in? Was she really here for me? I quickly dismissed the thought. Given Courtney Palmer's current popularity, she was definitely trying to chase clout from this. How absurd. Just then, several off-road vehicles drove into the village entrance. It turned out to be Marcus Thorne. After he got out of his car, he sized me up with a scornful look. "What, you came to join the commotion too? Now that Courtney Palmer is in trouble, are you happy?" He scolded me while instructing his employees. "All right, you guys, set up the tripods. Courtney Palmer can't die in vain this time." So he had rushed all the way here, not to save Courtney Palmer, but to profit from tragedy once again. And Marcus Thorne continued to sneer. "Benjamin Hayes, I've never seen a man as jealous and competitive as you. Courtney Palmer, she..." Before he could finish, I swung a punch directly at his face. After hitting that scum, I originally intended to just walk away, but just then Marcus Thorne's secretary suddenly shrieked as if he'd seen a ghost. "Mr. Chen, Courtney Palmer is calling." Marcus Thorne's face instantly changed, and he answered the phone in disbelief. A rustling static came from the phone receiver, along with Courtney Palmer's fragmented voice. "Honey, save me, save me." And Marcus Thorne looked troubled, and said with a hint of disdain, "No, who would dare go into a place like that? Weren't you just supposed to film some footage in the scenic area? Why did you wander off by yourself?" Unfortunately, the signal was too weak. Courtney Palmer tried to say more, but it was all just noise. I snatched the phone and asked her directly, "Courtney Palmer, where are you?" There was silence on the other end. When I called back, her phone was off. Her phone battery had died. I took a deep breath. Courtney Palmer was a life Arthur Hayes gave his life for, whether alive or dead. I had to find her. I couldn't abandon her. And since her phone had a signal, it meant she hadn't gone too far. There should still be a chance to save her. Without hesitation, I entered the mountains again. Sure enough, after several hours of searching, I finally found Courtney Palmer. She was hiding in the clearing where our team had camped. We had scattered deterrent powder around, which made it relatively safe. She was hidden in the tent, afraid to come out. The forest was full of venomous snakes and creatures, and the roars of wild beasts. It was right that she hadn't acted rashly. It was a miracle she survived this time. Courtney Palmer was terrified. When she saw me, she rushed over to hug me. Completely disregarding her appearance, she cried heartbreakingly on the way to the hospital. Courtney Palmer tightly clutched my hand. With red eyes, she said, "Benjamin Hayes, you still love me, don't you?" I gazed into her eyes and counter-asked, "If our situation were reversed, would you have come to save me?" The answer was already in my heart, but I couldn't help but ask. Because back then, when Arthur Hayes and Courtney Palmer were in danger, Arthur Hayes chose to sacrifice himself, and Courtney Palmer had always thought this was normal. There was no gratitude. She only cared about herself. Courtney Palmer stammered. Completely unable to answer my question, I pulled my hand away and turned, expressionless. "This is the last time I save you. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other." Indeed, I had thought it through clearly. Some things are better said clearly sooner rather than later. Before I could speak again, Courtney Palmer suddenly burst into tears. "How much longer were you going to keep this from me? Why didn't you tell me about the cancer sooner? We wouldn't have had to end up like this." I looked at her in surprise, but I didn't say anything more. In fact, it made no difference who had the terminal illness. She still didn't understand why I had given up completely. What I wanted was a love without impurities, a love without a third person. Life, old age, sickness, and death are normal, but how could love be betrayed so easily? I sighed and completely disappeared from her world. A week later, the National Geological Team awarded me the Best Guide Award. This honor brought me fully into the public eye. Former colleagues called and messaged me one after another, saying I was not to be judged by appearances, saying I had hidden my true capabilities so well, saying how foolish I was to have worked diligently for so many years at a crappy livestream talent. To thank me, Brooke Hayes organized a grand celebration banquet. At the same time, she earnestly asked me to become the chief master colorist at her company. I couldn't refuse, so I accepted the position. To my surprise, Brooke Hayes offered me an exorbitant annual salary. As a result, I trended on social media again. People in the comment section were praising my excellent professional knowledge and extensive experience. Courtney Palmer also trended on social media along with me. She was fined for entering the forbidden Blackwood Peaks without national permission, and her absurd actions were publicly condemned by the National Broadcasting Authority. All influencers, including her, were warned and forbidden from seeking cheap fame in this manner from now on. Soon, Courtney Palmer was deplatformed and banned from all social media. Even Marcus Thorne's livestream talent suffered consequences. In an instant, she plummeted from heaven to hell. Having lost her ability to earn money, Courtney Palmer became worthless in Marcus Thorne's eyes. Not only did he not visit her in the hospital, but he also took back all the houses and cars he had given her. Courtney Palmer couldn't stand it. After she recovered a bit, she went directly to Marcus Thorne's company to demand answers. Unexpectedly, as she entered, she saw a very elegant woman. Her eyes were sharp. Looking at Courtney Palmer's swollen stomach, she calmly said to the security guard, "What trash got in here? Get her out." The security guard immediately moved, showing no mercy. Courtney Palmer was desperately clinging to the doorframe, refusing to leave, shouting, "Who are you? Get Marcus Thorne out here. Get him out." Before she could finish, the woman suddenly burst into laughter. "Why are you looking for my honey?" Courtney Palmer froze in place as saying in disbelief, "What did you say? Your honey? Marcus Thorne is married." The woman looked at Courtney Palmer as if she were trash. "Oh, so you found out you were deceived? How pathetic. But Marcus Thorne has lied to you about a lot. Did he tell you he was single? Did he tell you he was infertile? Did he promise to marry you if you gave him a son? Well, not only is he married, but we also have a boy and a girl. As for a despicable woman like you, he told me you're nothing more than a disposable asset." Courtney Palmer covered her ears, shaking her head frantically. Then she screamed and ran out. 6 months later, Courtney Palmer, heavily pregnant, came to find me. I heard she had gone to Marcus Thorne's company a few days prior, threatening Marcus Thorne with the child, but unexpectedly, Vivian Thorne had already anticipated her showing up again. She directly made public the video of Courtney Palmer with several men from back then. Overnight, the once most beautiful streamer was utterly disgraced, but the child was almost due. Courtney Palmer had no choice but to find the fall guy, since the Marcus Thorne route didn't work. She turned to me. Unfortunately, for several days, she couldn't find any trace of me, until one day she couldn't help but ask the receptionist, "Why isn't Benjamin Hayes ever at the company?" The receptionist politely replied, "Mr. Hayes and our Brooke have gone abroad. They won't be in the office for a while." Courtney Palmer became anxious. "Where did they go? When will they be back?" The receptionist shook her head, apologizing. "I'm just an employee. How would I know executive travel plans?" The light in Courtney Palmer's eyes instantly dimmed. On the day she went into labor, Courtney Palmer endured the most agonizing time of her life. She hemorrhaged, experiencing difficult labor. Medical staff fought desperately to save both her and the child, but she permanently lost the chance to be a mother. But the moment the child was born, the doctors' faces changed. The child not only had no breath but was also severely malformed. Courtney Palmer asked in a weak voice, "I want to see the child." A kind nurse said, "Miss Courtney, perhaps it's best not to." At Courtney Palmer's insistence, the doctor showed her the child she had just risked her life for. With just one glance, Courtney Palmer fainted from shock. Stillborn, she must have inhaled too many toxic fumes deep within Blackwood Peaks, or perhaps she was accidentally bitten by some venomous insects and creatures. And Courtney Palmer, from then on, had lost the ability to conceive. Even more tragically, when she woke up, the doctor handed her a cancer diagnosis report. The newly awakened person saw her own name on it, and fainted again. The day Brooke Hayes and I returned to the country was already the spring of the following year. Since snow had melted, we returned with great success. Just as we reached the company entrance, a familiar figure suddenly rushed at me like a madwoman. It was Courtney Palmer. She was gaunt and skeletal. I instinctively pushed her away. Courtney Palmer, caught off guard, stumbled and fell to the ground. Her eyes instantly welled up, and she pathetically crawled over to tug at my sleeve. "Benjamin Hayes, it's me, Courtney Palmer. Don't you recognize me?" My voice was flat. "What are you doing here?" Courtney Palmer burst into tears. "Benjamin Hayes, I was wrong. I was so wrong. Only you truly love me. I realized it too late. Please don't abandon me. Okay, can we go back to how things were? Weren't you going to marry me? Can we get married? Please." She used to be so concerned with appearances, yet now she was begging me in broad daylight. Faced with her pleas, if it had been in the past, I definitely would have softened, but now I felt nothing when she repeatedly hurt me. Did she ever imagine this day would come? My love and patience had long ago been completely eroded by her. Courtney Palmer watched my back as I walked away. Her face was filled with disbelief. She couldn't understand why I could just stop loving her. In truth, all these years, I had never truly scrutinized her. Courtney Palmer was a woman driven by greed and insatiably materialistic. It was my love that made her seem better than she was, and throughout this journey, all the choices were her own. I really couldn't save her. Back in the office, Brooke Hayes remained silent for a long time before speaking. That woman outside is named Courtney Palmer. Right, for the past decade, Courtney Palmer had forbidden me from associating with other women. She said she would be jealous. That's why Brooke Hayes and I hadn't been in contact for a full decade. Even when she asked me to lead a team to Blackwood Peaks, she had to ask a friend to relay the message to me. She hadn't seen Courtney Palmer, at least not the adult Courtney Palmer. I nodded. Endless silence replaced the strained words. 10 years of love, and 10 years of pain. Yet was it painful? Brooke Hayes sighed, patted my shoulder, and said seriously, "It's all in the past." I smiled at her, and sincerely thanked her. "I'm grateful you've been here for me during this time." Outside the window, the sun shone brightly. My personal storm had already passed. Not long after, Marcus Thorne's company was found to have engaged in tax evasion. I guessed it must have been Brooke Hayes' doing. That girl was fiercely protective, never one to let an injustice stand. Vivian Thorne didn't hesitate to file for divorce. They didn't have much affection to begin with. It was a profit-driven marriage of convenience. After Marcus Thorne ended up in prison, he no longer had any chance to make a comeback. 3 years later, one winter morning, I met Courtney Palmer for the last time during my morning run. The moment she met my gaze, small snowflakes actually began to fall from the sky. The cold snowflakes landed on her dirty face, instantly turning into hot tears. She lay prostrate in the snow, looking at me with a pleading gaze. When she spoke, her voice was incredibly hoarse. "Benjamin Hayes, I was truly wrong. Can you look at me just one more time?" Seeing me unmoved, she completely broke down. "I'm practically dying. Please take pity on me, okay?" I shook my head at her, my tone firm. "Courtney Palmer, the last time I saved you in Blackwood Peaks, it was for Arthur Hayes' sake. I told you that from then on, we would have no further connection." After hearing my words, she was utterly despondent. As I turned, Brooke Hayes was holding an umbrella and walking towards me. Courtney Palmer subconsciously curled up in the corner. Perhaps she also didn't want other women to see her in her current state, looking like a shell of her former self. Brooke Hayes, holding a coat in her arms, said softly to me, "Honey, it's snowing. I was afraid y'all catch a cold, so I brought you a coat." Courtney Palmer froze in place. She had spent so many years with me, yet she had never once shown such concern for me. This was the difference. Only at this moment did she truly understand. No one would wait forever in the same spot. Loss meant forever loss. There would be no second chances. I held Brooke Hayes' hand as we walked in the winter day with the first snow falling. She quietly pulled out a pair of knee braces, squatted down, and said earnestly, "When we came back from Mount Everest last year, I noticed your knees seemed to have some issues. At our age, we really need to take good care of ourselves. Don't dismiss this. If these minor aches and pains aren't properly dealt with now, when we get old." A tough woman was actually going on and on in front of me, yet I couldn't help but feel my eyes well up. Brooke Hayes didn't notice my unusual emotional state. After she fastened my knee braces, she smiled sweetly at me. I pulled her into my arms and hugged her tightly. Turns out, this was my new beginning.